Welcome one and all to Saluda, South Carolina and the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals. We're located at the Young Farmers Saluda Recreation Complex. Tom McConnell along with me, Claude Wood. Tom, this is a field we don't see very often, and it's called mini rods.
Exactly right. They're running the same motors as what you would see in either a modified four-wheel drive or in a super modified two-wheel drive, except they weigh less than a ton. You are talking some really exotic stuff going on. Smoky Fields will set the distance to beat.
So do you keep the pole or you stick with it?
Yeah, we're going to keep it. Right. We did about as well we could. The track pretty tacky. They're a little bit rough, so we're just going to take it and go with it.
Well, Tom, this will bring up Mike Kowalski driving chain reaction. Mike comes to us from Bristol, Virginia.
It's a place you know well, isn't it, Claude?
A little bit.
First look at a Ford. Now, the mini rods, you can run a 4-barrel carburetor, you can run fuel injection, or you can run a supercharger.
Mike Kowalski pulls 199 feet. Welcome, one and all, to the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from Saluda, South Carolina, where the temperature today is 105 degrees. Claude Wood along with Tom McConnell. Tom, a hot time in the old town today. How will this affect the pullers?
Well, it will affect the pullers in two ways. First, their temperaments may be, well, let's say a little bit on the hot side. You should have went through the tech heat earlier today. The guys weren't the easiest to work with, to say the least. The other thing is it's going to affect the motors. The motors are going to obviously get hotter, so that's what's going to happen. As we check out the mini rod category, our first look at a supercharged one, and we've got a Hemi, and this thing is getting wild. You can see why they call this class the sprint cars of truck and tractor pulling.
The mini rod category has to be one of the most insane classes ever featured on television, much less with the ATPA. This category incorporates a 96-inch wheelbase, 72 inches in width. We are talking about scary short and even scarier narrow, if that's a word. The combination for power plants, how about a big block up to 575 cubic inches with a blower on top? If you want to go bigger, take the blower off. You can run up to 650 cubic inches of normally aspirated power plant. How much do they weigh? 1,900 pounds. This is a wild and wacky class, and the individuals inside are the same way. Tim, why a mini rod?
Well, lightweight's one thing. Don't have as much weight to haul around, pull up and down the road. And then it's fun. It's exciting.
Now, let me ask you, we'll see actually a couple of different combinations in this category. Some of them use a blown small block and actually perform very well. Can you actually overpower the track?
Oh, yes. Many times. If a track happens to be wet, slick, and hard, small block motor will beat us. Just wears us out sometimes. And a normally aspirated motor will too. Because of the wheel speed. They don't have the wheel speed we've got with a big block, and they can just let the tires hook to the ground better.
If there was ever a class that needed a roll bar, it'd certainly be the mini rods. These guys are all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch them, and he's got a great roll bar on here for his protection. Also down here, take a look at what we call the wheelie bars, skid pads, whatever you'd like to call them. Keep in mind, if these things get a good bite, it'll slam these down on the track so hard that it'll actually unload the back tires and quite possibly put him into a tailspin.
Tom, to say that this class is wild is an extreme understatement so far.
Well, my uncle was a former stock car racer, and he said the people that used to run figure eights were nuts, but I don't know what he would say about the mini rod guys. Check out Tim Cutshaw going about 40 miles an hour out the back doors. We check it out in the Lucas Oil replay. Now remember, that's the same kind of motor that we're going to see later in a super modified two-wheel drive class.
Well, it's a good thing you decided to stop because they didn't have the gate open. Otherwise, you were going right on out.
Yeah, that's kind of run that feels good.
Excellent pass. It looked like it went just as straight as it could go.
Thank you. Yeah, it worked out real good.
Well, that will bring up Ricky Drury out of Nicholasville, Kentucky.
Ricky Drury is a two-time ATPA champion in the mini rod category, and he is one of those small blocks that Tim Cutshaw was talking about earlier, but it's not going to catch the big blocks tonight. the Woolly Booger will have to take second place. We check out the results. You can see the top three were all supercharged, and a small block was in there.
This program brought to you by Jasper Engines and Transmissions, the nation's leader in remanufactured engines and transmissions. And by Lucas Oil Products, #1 in the trucking industry. And by Liberty Herbicide, freedom from crop injury and weeds. Stay with us. More coming your way here on Speed Vision. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from hot Saluda, South Carolina. I don't know, Tom, it may be more refreshing to go swimming, but the business at hand right now is going to be the heavyweight super stock tractors.
Has something to do with the fact, too, that this is the last pull on the Jasper Engines ATPA pulling series for this heavyweight super stock category. Going to see how the championship's going to come out. Kenny Hale, 1996 ATPA Jasper champion, all over the track there, living up to its nickname of Kamikaze Ken.
He lost a lot of distance there, Tom, by the route he took, but managed to get out 272 feet. As we take a look now at Darrell Meese driving the squealer.
Listen to the sound and watch the run of the alcohol John Deere. And he goes by and sets the mark to beat 282.10. What an impressive tractor there.
Did you notice, too, Tom, when he started that run, wheels straight up in the air, and they stayed there the rest of the pull.
That's how he likes to run it. Wheels up, touch the drawbar. He can turn the tires a little bit harder, somewhat even unloads them a bit, and just turns it and goes, goes, goes. Check it out, Nicholas Hicks now, a man who has done very well in Saluda in the past. Going to come up short tonight, 235 and change.
Well, that'll set the stage now for Kent Mann as you go inside his office and see him getting prepared to take off. Tim is out of Dry Ridge, Kentucky.
Tim Mann has had a lot of problems this year. This is his rookie year of tractor pulling, and the AC having some problems there again right off the starting line. 34 feet, not what he wanted to have.
Here comes Kent Payne, and he calls it the Rooster Cruiser. And it's a diesel tractor. We'll see how he does, Tom. Wheels not up very much at all.
Well, the Rooster Cruiser, the traditional diesel, usually keeps the front end down, and the track getting a little rough there for him. Gonna shut him down way early, 237.
It's time now for the Jasper Engines and Transmissions Best Engineered Award, where the ATPA officials choose the vehicle that is technically outstanding. Brought to you by Jasper Engines and Transmissions, the leader in remanufactured engines and transmissions. Now, Ken Stout.
For this week's Jasper Engines and Transmissions Best Engineered, we're going to show you a tractor that basically nobody else has out here. Keep in mind, one of the toughest things to do in any motorsports is to use a one-off vehicle. In other words, a vehicle that nobody else in competition is using. Why? Well, you basically can't get any information from anybody else, be it a friend or foe. That's exactly what Ben Kennedy's doing in the lightweight category of super stock. He's using a tractor called a Deutz. And you might say, well, why are you calling it best engineered when we see him thrashing on the tractor? Well, keep in mind, he has to work on this tractor and has no other parts that he can borrow from any friends and no other information. Last night, while pulling, he actually killed a center shaft on a turbocharger. I'm not going to say it's common, but it's certainly not uncommon. You do kill these parts. I mean, they thrash on them very, very hard. He's busy working, getting ready for tonight. This is a one-off piece, and he's hoping to get into the show. Why a Deutz?
Well, it's something that's a little different. It's not something you'll see every day at a tractor pull. We run it. It's a challenge. Pulling is a challenge. It's to pull the sled as far as you can, and to run something different, that's a challenge too. And we kind of enjoy doing that. Anything can have problems, and we seem to have our share, but we still seem to be fairly competitive with what we have.
Just one quick glance at the side of this power plant, and you'll see that it's drastically different from the rest of the competitors in competition here tonight. Why? Look at the outboard cylinders. You'll see all of them are exposed. Looks very similar to an aircraft engine. You'll also see the push rod tubes are exposed as well. Now, this poses a unique problem. Typically, the tractors have a dump tank, all of them, but they're always fed by one large tube. Because he has individual cylinders, he has to have individual hoses. This designed by Ben Kennedy. Also, they have a fuel supply pump. This is a Deutz supply pump, but it used to be a hydraulic pump. He's converted it. It's working great for him. And, of course, the turbochargers are allowed more than one because he's in the super stock category. He actually has 3 on here, all the plumbing designed by Ben Kennedy. Now, we posed one last question to Ben Kennedy. It was, do you have any words of wisdom for the International or John Deere pullers? He was pretty modest in his answer. What he really meant to say was, have no fear. Underdog is here.
Thanks, Ken. Well, Tom, it's time to tell now what happens to Ben Kennedy and the Underdog. Had a little bit of a problem so far on the circuit this year.
Well, Ben is in the top 10 of the ATPA Jasper engine points in the lightweight category. Doing pretty well here in the heavyweight category as well. Let's see what he can do in Saluda, South Carolina this evening. Making a good run. But that alcohol tractor of Darrell Meese is really up ahead of the rest of the class.
I'll see, only 230 feet. As we go to the Lucas Oil replay, you can see right away he gets wheeled straight up in the air, and he's going pretty straight and true right there.
Of course, once he started dotting away, his foot has to get on the brake, and every time you get on the brake, it will cost you distance.
Well, certainly not the pull you were looking for, but it did come out and run pretty well. Now, this is a heavyweight class. Will we see you again tonight?
Yeah, I'll be back in the light class. It'll perform a little better in the lighter class, I'm sure.
Well, Tom, one of the crowd's favorites. That'll bring up Leroy Mason driving the Down and Dirty. Leroy has a good showing just about everywhere he goes, and there he goes.
Oh, wheels up, wants to copy Darrell Meese. He had set the sled on the right-hand side of the track. That might be what it takes to get the job done. Got to beat 282. Not going to do it. 264.09.
As Robert Galloway gets ready to do business, let's go down and check in with Ken Stout.
Leroy, certainly not what you were looking for at 264, I believe it was. You're well off the pace there by nearly 20 feet.
Well, that's all right. We'll take what we can get in this first class. We'll come back after him in the 5-0.
And no doubt, I mean, you're in a points battle there in the lighter class.
Oh, yeah, that light class, that's a definite battle. We're going to have to work at that one yet.
Well, out of Strawberry Plains, Tennessee, this is Robert Galloway driving the Hawk. And Tom, a diesel tractor, and he is really set to go.
No doubt about it, Robert Galloway is the defending champion of the pole here in Saluda. Can he make it 2 years in a row? No, sir. It's going to be a John Deere that wins tonight, but it's not going to be Robert Galloway. Last tractor in the class, it is a John Deere. John Deere of Darrell Meese in the lead. Tom Cassing's making the long drive all the way from Shelbyville, Indiana, to 105 degrees worth of South Carolina heat, and the Hoosier Deere, he will come up short as well.
Well, as we go to the standings, you can see Darrell Meese right there in #1 place, about 10 feet in front of everybody else.
Look how close Kenneth Hale and Galloway were. Wow.
Super modified two-wheel drives when we come back. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from Saluda, South Carolina. Claude Wood along with Tom McConnell, Ken Stout down at the pits for us today. And this will begin the super modified two-wheel drive class. Up first will be Stan Shelton driving the Sawmill Express.
Stan Shelton knows the southern tracks. He has won this event in Saluda several times. Strong running competitor. Haven't seen him a lot this year, but I would not count him out. 268.07. Very respectable run.
And that will set the mark to beat as we go quickly to the Lucas Oil replay. You can see a pretty good run, straight and true right there, not varying from left to right any. And that will net him, as Tom said, 268. Let's go down now and find out more from Ken Stout.
Well, not a perfect run. The question is, do you keep it?
No, we won't take that. We'll drop and come back last. It's pretty difficult being the first hook. Sometimes the track can be pretty good, but the weather conditions, if we'd had a decent run, we probably would have took it. But right now, we'll probably drop and come back.
Well, that'll set the stage for the Jasper Fun driven by Mr. Balco himself, Rick Sanford out of Cincinnati.
Rick Sanford has yet to win an ATPA Grand American Points event this year. He won an event in Florida earlier this year, but it wasn't for points. And now Rich is having trouble. 229.05 with the Balco GMC as we check it out on the Lucas Oil replay. Comes out easy. gets on it, but then you start to see the smoke when the butterflies open up, and Rick Sanford has problems.
Obviously something came apart on it. It was starting to lose power, so we'll go back to the pits and find out what it is and get working on it.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not water underneath this motor. It's a whole bunch of oil.
That's what I was kind of figuring.
Well, Tom, this will be the hometown favorite. This is Jeffrey Bartley from right here in Saluda, South Carolina. And Jeffrey drives the Southern Thunder. Very nice-looking truck.
This is a gorgeous Chevrolet, to say the least. He was the East Tennessee ATPA Jasper Points champions a couple of years back. And he will set the mark to beat here in Saluda, 261.06.
And as the sun begins to set, a beautiful sunset, by the way, getting ready for another pull coming up in a few minutes. Right now, this will be Roger Simon, and the Simon says Chevy.
Roger Simon has never been to this track here in Saluda. He pulled here last night, so hopefully he can take the knowledge he learned on the track and transfer it down. The Chevy of Roger Simon has won more events than anybody else this year, but he does not get the job done. 266.04.
And Tom, this will bring up Jerry Heim, the Call of the Wild. Very nice looking truck. Makes me think maybe he's a volunteer fan with all the orange going on there.
Well, maybe, maybe not. He lives in Maryville, Tennessee. He's originally from the state of New York. Still goes up and pulls with the Empire State Pullers when he gets a chance, and Jerry Heim has just taken over the lead here. We check it out, the Lucas Oil replay. That was a very good run, Claude. Very straight. Front end comes up, bobbles a couple of times. He really didn't have to get on the brake. Right there at the end, that nose is up. That's what you want, and it does it, and he takes the lead.
Well, you take the lead by 13 feet, 274. Good hit.
Yeah, second time off this year, but I made some adjustments on the motor, and she's running real good for me.
Well, second time out. Imagine if you did this all the time.
Yeah, I just got lucky, probably.
Tom, here's a truck we see a lot out on many of the venues. Danny Hubert from Bowling Green, Missouri, driving the Jack Daniels, and he usually has a very good showing.
Danny Hubert has yet to win an ATPA Jasper Engine Grand American Pull. And tonight in South Carolina is not going to be his night, 252.03.
Red alert, Tom, red alert. This is Paul Ramey. Now, why would he come up with a name like that?
Well, you got to know Paul Ramey to figure that one out. Paul Ramey, many times East Tennessee Jasper Engine champion in his portion of the country. Very respectable run, 260 and change.
Hey, you like the super modified? Stay with us. We have more. A great crowd on hand tonight in Saluda, South Carolina for the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals. Claude Wood along with Tom McConnell. We're in the super modified two-wheel drives, and this is utterly smooth, driven by Darrell Varner.
This truck is almost identical to the Jack Daniels truck that we saw run just a little bit earlier. Same chassis, same body style, same engine builder. Different drivers, and Darrell Varner up in the hunt. Very good run, 261 and change. As we check out, one of the world-famous Sullivan teams are coming out. Danny Sullivan's going to be doing the driving on the Split Fire sponsored Thumper.
And he has a pretty good run going so far, Tom. You can hear the RPMs come up, wavering just a little bit to the right.
The tires are bogging down, the front end up just at the end, 266.09. I've got to give Jerry Heim some credit. He has really beaten some top dogs out here tonight, Claude.
And speaking of dogs, here's the dog house.
Something you don't see a lot of on the Jasper Engine Transmissions Pulling Series on the Grand American. This is a T-Bucket, which, remember, the T-Buckets actually run 200 pounds less, so they're at quite the disadvantage. But this truck last night placed fourth. We check it out on the Lucas Oil replay. A good run from Mike Rogers. Now, Mike's father, Pat, is the promoter of this event.
Unfortunately, you didn't get the run that you had last night.
No, the track's not as good as tonight, and giving up that 200 pounds hurts. But I have to take what I can get sometimes.
Let's talk about that. Obviously, it's really affected these T-buckets. In fact, I believe you're the first one we've seen all year long after the 200-pound deduction.
Yeah, we come out here last night, and the track was better, and it really didn't make too much of a difference. But on the SAR, I mean, the track's a little wet, and I needed the extra 200 pounds to get it out the hole, which I didn't have. But I'm not going to cry about it. Just back up and pump for next time.
Tom, with the driver saying the track is still a little wet, it's a little hard to imagine at 105, maybe 106, 107 a little bit earlier today, but sometimes the track just seems to hold that moisture down inside.
Well, with the immense heat that we have had this year, track preparations at some of the facilities haven't been, let's say, optimal. They've been a little less than that, and that's what we kind of run into from time to time. Dan Walsh having problems. Blower belt going off. Oh, man, you check it out again. There goes the blower belt, and as soon as the blower belt snaps, Walsh goes straight to the ground.
Dan, the typical weak link of a blower motor, the belt flew off.
Yeah, that happens as much as we're pushing these motors. I tried a real high gear to make it work. It seemed like it's hooking pretty good, but it just got lean and it broke a blower belt.
Well, Mopar fans, pay attention now. This is Roger Simon as he drives the Simon Says. This one is the Dodge, and what a great-looking truck.
Well, the Chevy pulled earlier didn't do too well. Let's see what Roger Simon can do. Currently the leader on the Grand American points is Roger. Bounds. That left front wheel came down, crossed the line, and Roger Simon disqualified for going out of bounds. In the last 13 years, he has never been disqualified for going out of bounds. It happens in South Carolina tonight.
First time for everything, Tom.
Randy Brown, another man who knows this track well, making a very impressive run. Oh, man, 2:72.03. Jerry Hine with the Call of the Wild Dodge is really starting to look great.
Here's a regular we see a whole lot, Tom. This is Jim Lyons driving the Stitches, and he usually has real good luck and, well, a lot of skill, too.
Jim Lyons knows how to deal with some of these tricky tracks, and with all his skill and talent, could not pull it off.
Stay with us. We'll have more two-wheel action when we come back. It's called the Young Farmers Saluda Recreation Complex in Saluda, South Carolina, the home of the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals. Hello, everyone. Claude Wood along with Tom McConnell, and we have more exciting two-wheel drive action, such as Paul Sullivan driving the Kentuckian.
Paul Sullivan doing the driving sometimes. Wayne gets in the seat. Doesn't matter who's driving, no one is being able to knock the Dodge of Jerry Heim off the top. Kitsy Cullup on the line now, the night train out of Meadowview, Virginia. A little bit underclass, running a small motor in regards to the super modified category, a little under 500 cubic inch. Look at all that raw fuel coming out of that, Claude.
Yeah, and you can really hear a difference in the RPMs there, too, Tom. 213 feet. It's time now for the Lucas Oil Best Appearing Award, where we choose the most professional and best-looking truck or tractor in competition. Brought to you by Lucas Oil, #1 in the trucking industry. Now, here's Ken Stout.
This week's Lucas Oil Best Appearing is going to go to Kent and Sandy Payne, a beautiful red International 1066. It's called the Rooster Cruiser. We wondered where in the world would the name Rooster Cruiser come up. For you folks that drive big trucks, I'm talking about those 18-wheelers, maybe you have an idea. For those of you who don't, well, let's talk to Kent.
We've got a small trucking company, and they call the big trucks the Rooster Cruisers, and we just came up with that, put it on the tractor.
Where'd you come up with the actual rooster that's on the side of this tractor? Who designed that?
We've got a shop at home that does a lot of lettering and stuff, and he came up with it for me. I took the hood down to him one night. I said, come up with a name. He came up with it. Didn't know if we liked it at the time. Kind of grows on you. We left it.
As you can see, a lot of man-hours have been spent polishing that 30-inch wheel. That's got to take a lot of time. Look at the side of this tractor, and particularly to the stripe along the side. Actually changes a few colors. There's a deep, beautiful red right at the very top, changes into a purple, into a blue, and then finally into a green. Looks awesome. Of course, the red paint on the tractor itself, very impressive, in conjunction with a big chrome sewer pipe up on top. On the bottom of the tractor, just as impressive. Look at the polished aluminum pump here on the bottom in conjunction with the stainless steel lines. Aircraft fittings, beautiful stuff. And, of course, the name itself, the graphic designs, the prism lettering, spectacular. And I've got to tell you one more thing. Don't let the looks of this tractor fool you, because Kent and Sandy intend to inflict some pain on the rest of the tractors in this category.
This will bring up Travis Culliff driving like a rock. Travis comes to us today from Meadowview, Virginia.
We saw Paul Ramey pull earlier with the Red Alert two-wheel drive. This is Paul Ramey's first two-wheel drive super modified truck. Showed it to Travis, and, well, there's what Travis does with a 256.01. Jeff McPherson on the line now, the Beat Bandit out of Circleville, Ohio, just getting off his first win of the year, which is quite surprising. The McPhersons have only won one event this year up in Goshen, Indiana, a couple of weeks ago. Jeff making a really good run. He is going to be in the hunt. There are so many of these guys around that 261 mark, 261.04 for Jeff McPherson.
And Tom, the McPherson father and son team have a strong showing no matter where they go. Well, this is Ricky Long, and take a look at this truck. This is beautiful, not only in the daytime, but it really shows up tonight, too.
Oh, very beautiful truck. Very competitive, former National Farm Machinery Show winner. Is he going to win Saluda? No, 272.05. The call of the wild Jerry Heim. He's upsetting the Grand American Pros right now, Claude.
Tom, here's another regular we see a lot out on the circuit. This is Russell Korf and the Gambler.
First look at it, El Camino tonight. Russell's on his way for what's looking like a good run. Front end up, bouncing around right there in that 260 mark, 262.02. So many of the class, they're just bunched right together there.
Well, here comes the old Sawmill Express.
Stan Shelton, who earlier this evening turned down his first run. Let's see if it was a good thing to do. He pulled 268 earlier. A good run, really close. No, 272.05. The call of the wild, still in the lead, and Jerry Heim, Claude, wins his first ever Grand American event.
Oh, I'm just happy. I'm so happy I can't believe it. You know, I didn't expect to do this good on my second time out this year, but boy, it all came together, and it was worth the long drive to get here. You know, we worked all last night. We couldn't make it last night. We were working, but we just cut loose from the shop and came to the pole, and we won it. Oh, I'll better stay awake on the way home tonight because I'm just excited as can be, you know.
Modified four-wheel drive when we come back. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from Saluda, South Carolina. A part of the happy crowd on hand today, and just about, Tom, standing room only anywhere you go for the American Tractor Pullers Association, one of the fastest growing sports in this country.
Cindy Atkins, our first puller, has problems, only gets 90 feet with Mama's grocery getter.
Well, I guess you get to pull again only because you didn't go far enough, and certainly you didn't take that.
No, I didn't. Since I was first, I can drop. We've changed motors, we've changed hitches, we've changed quite a lot underneath, so it was the luck of the draw that I got to be first, so I can drop and go again.
What do you go back and change?
Probably the hitch position, where the hitch is actually hooked to the truck. We may change gears, we may add air to the tires. Just whatever my crew says to do.
Well, a lot of variables there, Tom, and time will tell what works out. That'll bring up Pat Paul.
Pat Paul from the state of Georgia, but look, his rear tires are not turning. He has got a rear end out. The front tires are turning, the rear is not. It's four-wheel drive, Pat. Pat having some problems.
Well, we go from that to rags to riches from Greenwood, Indiana. This is Don Grant.
Don Grant had some problems with this truck earlier this year. Destroyed the transmission in the machine, just got it back together. He is on a whale of a run right now. The RPMs are up. And Don is going to set the mark to beat 280 feet, .08.
And as we go to the Lucas Oil replay, Tom, you can certainly see all four-wheel drives really pulling there. A great run, straight and true, right down the center.
A little bit of bounce about mid-track, but that's probably because the track is hooking them good. Jim Lyons will come out next. We saw him earlier in the two-wheel drive category, but he says he loves this four-wheel drive class. Coming out easy now, he nails it, Claude.
He certainly does. You can hear the RPMs coming up. Jim Lyons, an engine builder, longtime drag racer, 297 feet. Great run.
Great run to say the least. The new leader, Donna Webb now, two-time ATPA Jasper Engines champion, currently number 2 in the points right now behind Galen Young. She needs to win this ball right here tonight. Got to be 297, and no, the Ford will not do it. The lady will not do it. Let's check it out in the Lucas Oil replay. The trucks are starting to bounce when the pan drops down. The track is getting a bit aggressive. And right there at the end, Donna starts to slide. And that's all she wrote.
Donna, I know you wanted a better run than that. Now it gets real critical. I think you're about 26 points behind Mr. Baker, and you've got to hope that he doesn't do very well either.
Well, we're having some problems with the truck and really can't quite figure it out. Haven't been able to take it home because we've been running every weekend, and hopefully now we can get it home and find out what its problem is, and maybe we can catch up. If not, second place isn't too bad.
Tom, I'm sure they will figure it out. They always do. You said a minute ago the track is getting aggressive. Explain to the fans what that means.
It's really taking a lot of power if you're going to make a full pull. And it's taking a lot of fight. It's working the engine. It's aggressive. It's hooking them. And you can see that as we've got a new leader. 299.06, the Animal House. He's not an ATPA Grand American regular. We're getting some guys down south that know this dirt. They know this type of track, and they're taking over the lead. We saw it in the two-wheel category. Now we're seeing it in the four-wheel.
And here comes Mom's Grocery Getter. She dropped a minute ago. We'll see just how she does if that paid off.
Well, it was better than the first pull, but still going to come up short, 283.09.
Fun and excitement the entire family can enjoy. ATPA truck and tractor pulling. This is the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from Saluda, South Carolina. This will bring up Gary Varner driving the fast grape.
Crowd loves Gary Varner here. They've seen him here before. Very tough truck. Won the event earlier this year down in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Will he win here tonight? Has got to be 299.06. Gary Varner coming up short, 285.
A little bit short indeed, Tom, as we see the Georgia Rebel getting all set to do business. This is driven by Sam Osteen. Sam made the trip up from West Green, Georgia.
Truck was a former Indy Super Bowl winner back in the early 80s, but hasn't had the time to do a lot of work on the truck here lately, and he is having some problems, 280 feet even.
Well, Tom, you know, as the night goes on, that mark of 299 feet seems to be harder and harder to beat.
Well, it could be that the track's going away. He's a guy that's always interested in trying something new if he thinks it's going to give him that upper hand. This is Alan Sneed from Lancaster, Ohio. Alan making a lot of RPMs. I love that V8 just sticking out to the sheet metal there. And look at that. The track may not be going away, Claude. We might have had someone open the floodgate, our first full pull of the evening.
Well, I got to tell you, you've done what nobody's done in the past 2 classes, a full pull.
Well, I love this track. I finished second here last year. I was second last night, and I don't know, I just got the right combination for it, and I love this place.
Could be the key to it, Tom. He said he loved it, but, you know, experience on this track, he must have remembered what he did right the other time.
Oh, no doubt about it. Let's check out Steve Klim now with the Radical. Steve has got a lot of ground speed. He is following the same route as Alan Sneed, and we have got a full pull. Check check out the crowd's response.
Oh, they love it. And as Eddie Allen gets ready, here's Ken Stout.
Excellent job. You just made a pull off of it.
I tell you what, I've been watching the track all night, and the track seems like it's getting a little better. There's been a lot of good trucks to pull, so I'm real fortunate to be where I'm at. But I tell you, it takes a lot out of you.
You know, Tom, it doesn't take long for these pullers, especially the more experienced ones, to recognize quickly whenever the track starts to change and make their changes in accordance with it.
Oh, no doubt about it. Eddie Allen, he might have made some changes, but there might have possibly been the wrong one. The Mopar fans are going to come up way short on that. 288.02. Gorgeous Mopar, though.
Certainly is. We've seen this guy around a lot. Busted loose, driven by Kim Eddington.
Kim in the top 10 of ATPA Jasper Engines points. Strong running Ford. Check out those RPMs, Claude. Screaming that Ford. And look at it, 295.10. Did not get it out.
Well, Tom, he had the RPMs, he had the horsepower, but not quite the distance.
Ricky Branch driving the Outlaw out of Baxley, Georgia. Good-looking Ford, used to be owned by John Swearinger out of Missouri. Good run, but Ricky Branch has been disqualified, Claude. Got the word from the ATPA officials. He did not have the proper safety equipment in regards to his fire suit, helmet, and what have you. Tried to kind of pull one over, and he was disqualified.
Well, he'll know the next time. This is the child's play.
Charlie Dutton making a lot of power, getting close to the out-of-bounds lines, but starting to bounce, and he will come up short, 298 even.
We might remind everyone, Tom, that mark to beat right now, of course, is a full pull.
That is exactly right. We have got two Chevrolets in the pull-off. Can Ron Baker make it number 3? Some sparks coming out from underneath Galen Young's Renegade. Hopefully that will not slow him down, and no surprise here. Galen Young's truck, Ron Baker doing the driving. A full pull.
Whatever mechanical problem he had, Tom, we're not sure, but it did not affect his pull. This will bring up Mike Clark.
Staunton, Indiana's where they call home. This man has built this truck practically from scratch. Heck of an engine builder. The Bauer sled catches him there at the end. 289.04 for the back wrap.
Coming up next will be Bill Kerr, and his truck is called Backdraft from Knoxville, Tennessee. Nice graphic on the side there, Tom.
Oh, very good-looking truck. Bill Kerr has been in the sport for many, many years. He is the guy that provides the cookout for the pullers after the pull, so you just need to find the motorhome on the top of the hill if you want some good food in Saluda. 287.08. Bill Kerr does not get the pull-off, but it's getting near dinner time.
Aaron Mobley coming up next in Mad Dog, and we see him, a very popular driver that's usually finds quite a bit of success.
Aaron on his way to a good run, a lot of ground speed, Claude. That's what you need. I think he's going to take it out of here. Yes, indeed, Aaron Mobley is making it a 4-way Chevrolet pull-off.
And speaking of pull-off, it's pull-off time when we come back. Standing room only at the Young Farmers Saluda Recreation Complex in Saluda, South Carolina. This is the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals, and it's pull-off time.
Alan Sneed will set the mark to beat as he gets the Lost in the 50 Chevrolet ready to go. RPM's up. Now he nails it. Listen to that motor work out here in this hideously hot evening. 296.06. Alan Sneed, the man on top. Here comes Steve Flynn.
Of course, as you know, it's a floating finish line in the pull-off, so whatever the distance is, that's what it is.
You just keep pulling till they won't allow you to pull anymore. Steve Flynn really on a run. He sets it 297.02. He's the man to beat.
It's time now for the Valco Tech Tip, where we share some of the best-kept secrets of the motorsports industry. Brought to you by Valco of Cincinnati. Now with our Tech Tip, here's Ken Stout.
During this week's Valco Tech Talk, we're going to show you not just a tire dressing, but also a detailing compound. It's called Phase 2 Detailer. As you know, with most tire dressings, if you get it on the wheel, or even up here on the stainless, on the side of this transporter, it's very, very hard to get off. It actually leaves a residue. Well, you don't have to worry about that with the Phase 2. You just wipe the tire off, and this isn't something that you have to scrub. I mean, I'm literally doing it as you watch. And you just wipe inside the wheel here, and it won't leave a residue, as most tire dressings will. Get it on stainless up here? Not a problem. Just wipe it off. Now, it will also cut synthetic oil. It's one of the toughest products known to man to cut. It'll cut synthetic oil, it'll clean dirt, it'll clean tires, it'll clean wheels. It's a great product. It's called Phase 2. If you have something tough that you want to keep clean, and trust me, these tractor pullers have it, this product will do it for you.
We continue now with the pull-off in the modified four-wheel drives, and this will bring up Ronald Baker and Renegade.
Ronald doing the driving for Galen's truck, having some problems right off the starting line. Now he's got it lit and ready to go. Renegade is screaming. He's got to be 297.02 set by his teammate, Steve Slim. Not going to do it, 294.10. One more truck to go. Aaron Mobley, the Mad Dog out of Harrodsburg, Kentucky. Aaron was the last puller in the first round. He's got to be 297.02 if he wants to stay in the game.
How far will the Mad Dog go? Tom, take a look. He has just tied Steve Clem.
Very, very strange to say the least. In fact, here comes one of your teammates now. Do you, in fact, go for a third pull-off, or do you stay at a tie?
Well, we're going to find out here in just a few minutes when we talk to one of my engine builders and see if he thinks we ought to make 3 runs on the motor back-to-back. But myself, I'd like to have a pull-off.
Now, you guys are relatively close in points as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're just a few points apart, and every point, really counts.
So, Tom, I guess we will call this pull-off take 2.
Well, occasionally you run into a situation. The guys, we talked to the ATPA tech officials, they would allow a split. But the two drivers have agreed no split here. We are just going to pull it off. These guys are going to have 3 runs on their motors. Something the first time this has ever happened at a Grand American event, mind you. Steve Clem going back for round number 3. What does he pull this time? 3:03:07. That was better than the first go-round one.
It certainly was. And, Tom, that says to me something about the dedication that these pullers have, willing to put another round on that motor.
Oh, no doubt about it. Aaron Mobley trying. Now, Aaron went back in the pits and had to scramble. He had some problems with the rear axle. Let's see if he gets it lined out. Not going to do it. 266.06. Steve Clem wins it. And you see the rest of the Chevrolet.
Stay with us, the lightweight super stocks, when we come back. Welcome back to the Lucas Oil Carolina Nationals from Saluda, South Carolina. Claude Wood along with Tom McConnell. Ken Stout is down in the pits. This program brought to you by Jasper Engines and Transmissions, the nation's leader in remanufactured engines and transmissions, and by Lucas Oil Products, #1 in the trucking industry, and by Liberty Herbicide, freedom from crop injury and weeds. Let's get things started now with the lightweight super stock class. And Tom, some heavy hitters coming up here.
Well, the first heavy hitter is the guy that has already won his 3rd consecutive ATPA Jasper Engines World title in this category. And in fact, Leroy Mason won this class here last night. Look at Leroy go again. He will set the mark to be 290.04.
Such a typical run from Leroy, even on his business card or his letterhead stationery, it shows the picture of that tractor at a 45-degree angle.
Well, that's the only way he knows how to run it. Randy Payne making the John Deere fans happy. Very good run for a diesel. Now remember, in the lightweight category, these diesels get to carry an extra 200 pounds, but doesn't help Randy Payne out. It seemed like the tractor just wasn't running quite as well as it usually does.
And And that'll bring up the old Moonshiner driven by Rick Ross. Looked like some problems early on there, Tom.
Rick Ross has got it lined out now, though, but Rick has taken a wild ride, having to get on the brakes, and Claude, that cost him a lot of feet.
You can see his tracks back behind him. He was indeed all over the place. Larry Phillips on Insanity, and he looks like he has problems at about the same place.
Larry Phillips has been Leroy Mason's nemesis this year. Can he take over the lead tonight? Yes, he does. 295 feet, .04. Larry Phillips is the new leader.
Let's get more on that bull from Ken Stout.
You did it, man. 290 and 4. One thing's for sure, Leroy won't win this one.
Well, that's kind of good, I guess, but he won last night, so he ought to let me win this one tonight.
I've got to say, you made the smoothest pass so far. Everybody else has had to make some radical steering changes throughout their pull.
Well, when I come off the line, it got a little squirrely, and I thought I was going to have a rough ride myself, but it leveled out, and it come on down the track pretty good.
Well, Tom, 3 tractors remain, beginning with the smoker Ken McKillop out of Wabash, Indiana.
You can see all that smoke with the wind blowing down, why they nicknamed these super stock categories these smoker categories. And this particular smoker just gets snuffed out. Ken McKillop having some problems there.
Problems indeed, and that will bring up Darrell Meese driving the squealer. Wheels immediately straight up in the air, and Tom, this looks like a very strong run in the making.
Darrell Meese won the heavyweight category earlier, but when you take that ton of weight off of him, put him in the lightweight category, he just goes wild and has to shut down. Big Kennedy, the last puller in the class. Can he beat Larry Phillips?
We saw him earlier. This was our best engineered tractor. He has a chance, but he looks like he's going to be a little bit short, Tom.
Yes, indeed, 251.02. He will come up short. Congratulations going to Larry Phillips. 295.04, just 5 feet out in front of Leroy Mason. We check out the final point standings. Leroy Mason makes it 3 years in a row. Heavyweight super stock category, alcohol diesel. Diesel wins the Night Trouble. The 4-wheel drive, Galen Young over Donna Webb. The 2-wheel, look at it, Dodge Chevy #1, both Roger Simon.
That puts a wrap on tonight's program for Ken Stout and Tom McConnell, Claude Wood, so long, everyone.